If you've been in the news lately for DreamWorks Animation, you've seen that Kung Fu Panda 4 has been a pretty decisive film, where you have some reviewers giving it valid criticism and some just tearing the film apart entirely. And honestly, I'm kind of falling in the middle. It's a movie that has good qualities to it, but at the same time doesn't really match up with the other films in the franchise, and unfortunately, breaks the curse and feels like a fourth movie that just doesn't connect. And the reason for why I feel this is not the movie itself. A lot of people are criticizing the things that happen in the movie, but there is a reason for this. And the thing I want to talk about in today's video is the stuff that's been going on internally at DreamWorks and Universal. There's a lot of things that happened internally that really kind of messed up this movie. This movie was supposed to be something completely different, and it's honestly a good thing we got the movie today, because I don't know what they were cooking here. But before we start, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's figure out the real reason for why Kung Fu Panda is mid. First of all,
Mike Mitchell.
Okay, look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Once I first heard that he was gonna be the director of this movie, I was a little skeptical. This is the guy that did the first Troll movies, and he's only done the first one, because I said I liked the third one, and there was a clear reason why. They had changed directors. That's why I kind of feel like I like that movie a little more than the previous ones. But once I heard this, I was a little worrisome, because there were some people from the original movies that were not coming back for some apparent reason, and there were apparently a lot of stuff going on within the company that were being cut back on, and this affected the movie really heavily. He is mostly known as the Trolls guy, but he has done Shrek 4, which might be one of the most decisive films DreamWorks has ever made. Some people saying it was terrible, and some people actually coming up and rising saying it was actually really good. So it was kind of, we'll see where this goes, but there's also another thing that has slowly been affecting DreamWorks ever since this happened. And that is, DreamWorks is now under Universal. Now, this is something that you could say, oh, this has nothing to do with the movie. Well, it kinda does. This is the first time Universal has distributed a Kung Fu Panda movie, and there are the big dogs. They are still watching over this film. They're not just, not paying attention to what's going on at all. But you can probably tell that Universal had some fair share of changing things up with this movie to fit its, general aesthetic with their films. They are trying to make DreamWorks so closely to how Illumination is making their box offices, and it's not working out well. We all know Universal's favorite child is Illumination. They just print out billion-dollar movies, except for Migration. We don't talk about Migration. Good movie, but we don't talk about it. But I think that Universal just wants DreamWorks to be like Illumination. And that's not gonna work. DreamWorks is a different studio from Illumination. And the way this film felt and, came out, it felt like it was really just put out here as basically a Poe's side mission or something. Or it just felt like they pushed it out solely because they knew it was gonna make a lot of money. Which is the main reason for a lot of sequels, but this one just felt off for some reason. And number 2. This was not the movie we were supposed to get. This was a movie so entirely different that I'm genuinely concerned for the writer's room of DreamWorks Animation. Mike Mitchell was changing this film so many times that this movie was at one point supposed to be a live action and animation hybrid, where the people from Kung Fu Panda go into the real world and face off people against the real world. What the hell is this? This was supposed to be the Chameleon? We were so lucky we got the Chameleon instead of an actual human character that came from the real world and actually wanted to take the Staff of Wisdom. This was what set it in stone for me that Mike Mitchell should not be in charge of certain franchises like this, especially Kung Fu Panda 4. And this is something that's not happened with any other animated DreamWorks movie or Illumination movie, so I don't understand why they would do it with Kung Fu Panda of all franchises. This would have just destroyed the franchise's reputation, with all the 3 films being great. And then you have this 4th one that's a live-action hybrid. I don't know if they were going for, like, the popular, I don't know, live-action Chipmunks movies or Smurfs or whatever it may be. I mean, those are all terrible. But I don't know what they were going for here. Mike Mitchell was controlling a lot of this film, and it is just insane how much he... This was the last resort for this film, for Kung Fu Panda 4. And the crazy part about this, the villains were last minute. Kung Fu Panda 4 was having its plot ready in stone, and Mike Mitchell was just changing everything up, honestly making me question if he should direct another DreamWorks movie ever again. And the writers of the film were begging him to put in the villains from the previous movies into Kung Fu Panda 4. And Mike Mitchell was denying this so many times. The writers had to persuade him so many times, and finally he agreed that Tai Lung, Shen, and Kai, and a bunch of other master villains will return for the movie. This is why it feels so off, and just basically shoehorned in, and apparently internally DreamWorks couldn't afford all the voice actors for these characters, which is insane. I mean, if you're gonna go this far with the hype train of these villains returning, you would want to get the characters voice actors, like, you know, Shen and Kai, not just Tai Lung. Tai Lung was good for what he was, but everyone else, he was just standing there. And 2, I don't think some of the writers for this movie had watched the previous movies. Shen being here would put a lot of PTSD to Po, and I don't think they would both be on I respect you terms. Shen went out dying, not accepting the fact that he could be redeemed at all. And it just felt shoehorned in, and they forgot a lot of the plots of the previous movies. So that was something. And I guess Furious 5 going away was purely just to introduce a new character for the franchise and make them marketable. And there's Zen. And Zen wasn't even supposed to be in the live-action hybrid, but here she is. There was so many forced things in this movie that honestly, it makes me appreciate the film we have today a lot more than I did a few weeks ago. We are so lucky that Mike Mitchell didn't make one of the worst sequels ever. And it's starting to come to me that there's a lot of cutoffs and going on in DreamWorks right now, and I feel like they need to really get their stuff together, because there's a lot of upcoming films coming up later this year, like The Wild Robot. Next year we have the Dogman movie, and The Bad Guys 2. While I'm excited for these movies, I'm just a little worried about who's in charge of these movies, who's writing these movies, and who's gonna be, you know, Universal is still going to distribute all 3 of these films. I'm genuinely curious on how these films are going to be treated, and if they're going to be changing things last minute. So, that is the real reason why Kung Fu Panda 4 kinda sucks. But, let me know what you guys think of what's going on internally with DreamWorks and Universal. Do you think they should get rid of Mike Mitchell and the rest of these probably really bad writers? Or do you think that maybe Kung Fu Panda 4 was fine on its own? Don't get me wrong, it has its qualities, but there was a lot of things that were wrong with it that finally came to light a few weeks later. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace out.